Well, everybody, it is Sunday Night Live here on Material Issues. Yes, this is episode number 230. If you can believe that. Holy cow, I'm Mark Hershberger of Pop Detective Records. I'm over here in a beautiful day in South Jersey. I've been busy over the weekend with a football playoff game Friday night, working Saturday night, but I'm having a great time. We're going to have a great night tonight. And of course, joining me normally from Southern California, but now he's in a different land farther north. He's in Toronto. Mr. Daivd Bash, the president of the International Pop Overthrow Music Festival. He's up there with the Boogeyman in some rando
Boogeyman, yes.
IPO Toronto. How you doing, David?
I'm doing fine, and IPO is IP over for this year. We did, last week I talked about New York and Boston, I guess. Well, now we finished the trifecta, Toronto, which went pretty well. It could have gone better, but there were a few extenuating circumstances. But the bands were great, and I really liked the venue that we're in. So, all in all, I'm happy. You know what I should do? I should go get some of my record finds. I don't know why I didn't have them prepared here, but
I did see you had Mr. Moray there, our good friend Jamie Vernon of Bullseye Records out in Toronto. Of course, all the Klaatu.
I'm going to bring out my very, very heavy bag that I'm going to bring on the plane with me. Let's see some of the cool stuff that I got.
Oh, carrying heavy baggage.
I'll just pull out a few things.
Where's your lovely assistant, Dave the Boogeyman? He could be handing you albums right now.
Want me to take them out one at a time for you?
No, it's okay. This is all I'll do.
For those who don't know, Dave the Boogeyman is Radio New York International. He's a well-known online disc jockey.
I'm a little camera shy.
He's a little camera shy, but that's fine. So that's why we keep him on just audio.
Right.
Good to see you back there, Dave the Boogeyman.
Same here, Mark.
All right. Well, here's some stuff I got recently in Toronto. A really cool promo of the Nilsson album, Son of Schmilsson. Of course, this is the album that has the landmark song "You're Breaking My Heart," which couldn't be played on radio stations for one particular reason.
Yep.
That has 4 letters and starts with an F. But this is a really cool promo. Please audition before radio airplay. And that's exactly what they're talking about, I'm sure. And of course, the $40 is actually $28 US.
With the exchange.
So that's not too bad. An original UK Bonzo dog band Tadpoles with the cut cover. So you can see the cutout there. I love that. Brand new issue of one of the best Canadian bands, Lighthouse. One Fine Morning, a two disc with many demo tracks, a 2-disc set that just came out a little bit ago. If you remember this album from the mid '90s, this is when Stephen Tin Tin Duffy went power pop.
Right. Remember that.
This is an original pressing from the mid '90s, UK. So you know that's going to be rare. I don't think I'd ever seen one in the wild. So this place, Sonic Boom, just in Toronto, is amazing. And finally, I got lots of stuff, but we don't have time for me to show it all. One of the seminal, and I'll bet our guest has heard of this band. I don't know if they ever played LA, but one of the seminal pop-punk bands, punk pop bands of the Toronto area and the UK, the Daivd.
Oh yeah. See, we can see our guest down in the queue. She is making some very positive movements. But
an original Canadian pressing of this album, which has their version of Red Rubber Ball. Tired of Waking Up Tired, which is their most famous song, and Terminal Rock, among others. A really good album. Actually, the Daivds played IPO one year in Liverpool.
Oh, yeah.
the guys from here came out to the UK and met up with the guys from the UK that are there, and they did a really great set for us.
Oh, awesome. Well,
So anyway, Toronto's been fun. I'm finally heading home tomorrow. Or as they say, tomorrow up here.
It's what it's all.
Yeah, so it's all good. But yeah, been excited about our guest ever since we arranged. Well, you arranged it, and then I got to know her through some of the stuff she's been sending me. But let me read from her bio here. Operating under the banner Punk Turns 30 since 2005, our guest was a student at UCLA in the mid-'70s at the dawn of punk. I'm jealous. Together with her friends Pleasant Gaiman, if I pronounced it wrong, she'll let me know, Randy Kay and Brian Tristan, she co-founded the fanzine Lobotomy. I wonder where that name came from. To chronicle the nascent movement. They were heralded by, I can't call him a friend, but I do know him a bit, KROQ DJ Rodney Bingenheimer as part of the first 100 punks in LA. Since those early days, her photography for Lobotomy and the zine itself continues to stand as a visual foundation of early LA punk. Now, there are other things I could read, but we'll let her tell the story. So without further ado, would you please give a huge welcome to Theresa Kareakes.
And there she is. Wow.
Like magic.
Theresa, you know what? I've heard your name pronounced many different ways, but I've heard it for a long time from our mutual good friend, Frank Sessich. And there's always been stories. And it seems like he always said, and Theresa was there. And Theresa got this. So I've known your name for a long time, but to actually have you on here live and to be able to be connected and talk about your wonderful story is just an absolute pleasure. Thanks for being here at Material Issues tonight. And this is great.
Well, thanks for having me. Frank talks about you all the time, and of course, I have all the records.
Well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what. You know, Frank is one of my all-time best friends in the world, and if there's anybody who could possibly rival Frank for stories, and Frank is very, very good with stories, it's probably going to be you. From everything you've been sending me and everything going on and went on in your life, I was like, my God, Theresa's got just as many stories as Frank. I wonder if she's going to regale us with as much as Frank can. So, you know, I think it's wonderful. Frank is just salt of the earth, best guy on the planet. You know, I love him.
Frank he is great. We love him.
He is. I saw him. I guess it's 3 weeks ago. I saw him on Halloween. We every year I do Punk Rock Day of the Dead, have a ghost dance party in Pittsburgh at the Get Hip warehouse because know what one of our friends doesn't want to be in a 40,000 square foot warehouse full of vinyl, right?
Look at Daivd.
I know I would. Well, I don't know all of it.
Let him loose.
I don't know a lot of it, but not everything. So
right, yeah. So I saw him then, and you know when the documentary about Stiv came out, Frank and I did a lot of promo with the movie, and we told stories together. And basically, we just laughed. You know, we'd be on the stage, and we'd start something, and then we're just like, "Oh, remember." And
the two of you are connecting in your minds while everybody was wondering, what are they talking about?
Well, you know, Stiv was such a character. You know, I know he liked to portray, together with the rest of the Dead Boys, portray this very menacing, you know, nihilistic punk rock, you know, sonic reducer. I don't need no mom and dad, you know, but he was a goofball.
I have a little bit of a Stiv Bader story here. I never met him, but I'm going to say 2003 or, well, depending upon what year it was that this gentleman passed, I was going to Liverpool for International Pop Overthrow. And that's when we did it in October. And I got an email from Greg Shaw, who I'm sure you knew, saying yeah, I really want you to help me on a project I'm going to be doing about stiff baiters. I said, well, I'm happy to do so, but I'm going to do my festival in Liverpool. But when I come back, let's talk again. Well, unfortunately, that didn't happen because that's when he passed. Do you have any good Greg Shaw stories? I mean, he obviously was at least adjacent to this scene, if not more.
He may have been the first journalist to use the word punk in journalism.
Wow.
Like me, Greg is California native. He's from San Francisco, and I'm from Los Angeles. And again, what I'm going to tell you runs contrary to so many on the street popular opinions of Greg. But he always paid me for my work. And he mentored me as a writer and as just a person on the scene. He had a great record store and he employed almost all of my friends. So I have nothing bad to say about Greg. He has a few ex-wives who probably have bad things.
Well, one of them still runs Bomp Records, Susie. And
Susie,
I see her a few times a year.
Susie is fantastic because I think the success of Bomp, I mean, it was in that partnership, everything that Greg knew and all his connections and Susie's real organization and her thoroughness and, just being a completist. And that was a really well-oiled indie machine.
Yeah, it was. Now, you say he paid you for your work. So
yes.
You did your photo. No, I'm not surprised at that. He didn't pay everyone like those people on his Pebbles albums, but
right. I know, and I go to places and I say, "Well, Greg always paid me," and then they grumble. It's like, you have your story with Greg, and I have mine, and mine is all.
No, I have nothing but good things to say about him. But so your photos were in Bomp magazine, or where did he use them?
They were a little bit in Bomp magazine, but I did all of their Christmas cards. So if you ever received a Christmas card from Bomp with the staff photo, I took it.
Wow.
And a lot of record covers. The Disconnected. Well, Disconnected, there's 10 pictures on it. 9 of them are mine.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And the Pandora's Hot Generation, the bikinis and the surfboards, that's me.
Wow.
Just lots of them, and all of their, all of the retrospective ones when they, do a reissue and they have booklets. That's all me in there.
Well, here's a little Rodney Bingenheimer story for you. He had Paula Pierce on his radio show once, and there was a song on there at that time, upcoming record called "Wear My Ring," and Rodney asked her about it. He wasn't sure what that was about, and she said, "It's a sex ring, Rodney." And Rodney goes, "Oh!" Like he was.
I can just see Rodney's going, "Oh no!" It's like the jazz hands. No! Don't talk about that.
That's funny. Good stuff. Well, so much of your career is tied into a lot of this photography that you've done. A lot of iconic photos from that time period. Let's rewind a little bit and let's talk about young Theresa growing up in LA. I know some of the early parts of your memoir, which you're working on, and you sent us a few chapters on that. I think it's going to be an amazing read. I can't wait till that all gets put together. But you talked about early days where you mostly had the Instamatics, but your parents did have a Leica or something laying around, and you got what got you into like actually snapping photos and photos as something that really turned you on? What was your inspiration for that, or how did you come about loving photography?
Well, I loved movies when I was a little kid, and we had a movie camera, and I knew I could do it, because it was just like it was a gun, just capture action, and that's what I wanted to do. And then I went to a couple of concerts, and this is why that saying exists, photos or it didn't happen. Because I went to see Elton John at the Hollywood Bowl, and nobody believed me.
Wow.
You're there. Yeah, at a young age.
That's weird.
Oh, I know. I was 15.
Well, I mean, but was that the story where your dad dropped you off at the Hollywood Bowl and waited in the park?
He waited because, they have stacked parking, as you know, David, and they have had stacked parking there ever since the Hollywood Bowl had cars. And so he just waited, and he was so cool. And like when I went to see Almost Famous, I had this kind of...
I knew this was coming.
No, but I had this envy and admiration and wannabe thing with Cameron Crowe because we're the same age. And I would read in the LA Times, Cameron Crowe is 18. And I was like, well, so am I. His mom must be so cool that he can do that. And I just thought, oh, but my dad is so cool. He lets me do this too. Because he would drive me, And so we have a really parallel thing. And he got bylines in the Los Angeles Times and in Rolling Stone, and I would submit my pictures, and sometimes they would get used on like some gang page, like in Random Notes or whatever. But then my friends and we had this interest that wasn't really picking up yet. And it's like, oh, we'll just start our own magazine. So we did.
And
your dad dropped you off at the bowl. Did he say, don't do drugs?
No.
Okay.
No, he sat there at the bowl, and he took me to see ELO like a month later in San Luis Obispo at the Cal Poly gym. And he waited in the car. It was a dark and rainy night. Now, he didn't want me to drive by myself, so he waited in the car. Wow. And we saw ELO. I took the worst concert pictures that exist at that concert because I only had an Instamatic. Then right after that, my parents got me an SLR. I had a Pentax, just like Paul McCartney.
Nice. Very, yeah. You were using an Instamatic, fixed lens, fixed focus. And I remember because I had some cheap, I don't know what the heck it was. And I grew up in a college town, and my dad was a college professor, small town, but all the big acts came through and played at the Keystone Hall. And when I was young, it was only 2 blocks from my house, and it was a small, safe little town. I'd get in free because I was the son of a professor. Mm-hmm. I saw everybody there, and I took my little fixed focus, and the pictures were always awful, out of focus. I could show them to someone and said, I was there. I saw Sweet. I saw, Kansas. I saw whatever. And they're like, you can't prove that, The photo looks like nothing.
But those are really fantastic. And do you know Jim Harrington or know of Jim Harrington? He's this fantastic photographer, and he lives in Nashville. We were neighbors for like 18 years that I have since moved. But anyway, he has like these iconic portrait of Merle Haggard and a picture of Dolly Parton that everybody knows where she's leaning against the car. And anyway, I sent him my ELO pictures, and I said, I just want you to know that these are the worst concert pictures that anyone has ever taken. And then he sends me back some. He goes, no, mine are. And we were going back and forth about who's got the worst start, when they were teenagers. And lo and behold, on Instagram, I see a contest for the worst photos ever. And Jim and I are going, all day we sit around thinking of really great ideas, and we just keep sitting on them. So now that's a thing. Bad photos is a thing. But I'm going to publish those pictures of ELO.
Nice. What would you say, in your opinion, what is your most iconic photo? And does that match the opinion of others?
I think there's a couple. There's the one of Joan Jett and Billy Idol in her apartment.
Wow.
Yes, that when Billy and Joan went on tour this year, it was he'd go on talk shows, and then there would be that picture.
Well, it looks like he wasn't dancing with himself there. That's a good thing.
No, he told this great story about how I went to this party with Joan Jett and 20 other girls, and then I went across the street to see the Germs, which was true because Pleasant and I had Joan helped us set up this party at her house. We introduced Billy and Joan. We were surprised that they'd never met before. And so we introduced them, and we convinced the whiskey that was the night that we should have our lobotomy benefit concert. So yeah, sure. It was the middle of the week. Nobody cared. And 47 years later, Billy Idol's talking about it on,
Wow.
on all of the late night talk shows, and I'm like saving all of his social media, showing people, see, decades later.
So
that was a great photo, Theresa. The eyes on Joan Jett were amazing that you got those.
Oh yeah, right there. Look at that.
The great thing about this photo is, Chris Needs, who's the editor of Zigzag, he's the one who turned it punk. He took it from like when Pete Frame was the editor and it was all about the rock family trees and really historic rock and roll. When Chris Needs became editor, it was like 100% punk. Like I found out about the Slits because of Chris Needs and stuff. And the other day he sent me this thing where Joan, I had given both Joan and Billy those pictures, and Joan kind of cut out this picture of her and sent it to him. Because when she went solo, like, oh, here's a picture of me. And she had cut herself out of that picture.
Oh, wow.
And he just told me this decades later. It's like, I just now put two and two together.
It's got to be an awesome feeling that photos that you took over 50 years ago are still, making their rounds today, and people are still, talking Joan Jett herself cutting herself out of that and sending it. I mean, it's amazing to think that. And what was that picture taken with? Was that picture taken with the SLR?
Pentax, yes.
Okay.
I just recently saw, and I don't know if the exhibition is traveling, but it's Paul McCartney. A couple years ago, he published this book, The Eyes of the Storm, where it's those 2 years of the Beatles on tour, and he had a camera, which was Pentax, which was the same one I was using back then. The installation is beautiful, and it's as much about photography and memory and tourism as it is about Paul McCartney and the Beatles.
Okay.
It's fantastic. I've gone twice already. It's been there for 2 weeks. I've gone once a week. I'm going to go. I'm a member of the museum. I can just turn up and just go, and I do. I've taken people.
One of our guests recently on the program, Yorick Van Noorden, who's a great pop singer-songwriter from the Netherlands. He actually wrote a book, which unfortunately is only in Dutch right now, but it's basically chronicling Paul McCartney's record cabinet, talking about the records that are in it. He got a press release about that, and he just decided to write a book about it. It's got some great photos in there.
But
I'd love to show that to you.
What's
to know your opinion.
He wasn't in Paul McCartney's den with Paul McCartney's albums.
No.
Saw a photo where McCartney was sitting there and his whole album collection was in the racks behind him. So he got that high resolution photo and zoomed in to the spines of all the albums. And that's what he did his whole book on. This is Paul McCartney's record collection, because he could zoom in to this high resolution photo and see all of McCartney's albums behind him.
But there are also other cool photos in there as well.
That is absolute geek stuff that I'm here for.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
I love that. When I lived in New York, I lived on this little street called Irving Place, which at one end is Gramercy Park, the private park, and on the other end is the Irving Plaza concert venue, and that's at 14th Street, where the Palladium used to be, which is now an NYU dorm. But across the street from me was a big building that was owned by the fashion designer Richard Tyler, and he would have fashion shows in his atelier. And I just would, sit in my window and look out and talk on the phone, and I would see his assistant in the window talking on the phone. And this is before headsets. He would cradle his phone on his ear. I just looked up Richard Tyler Atelier in the phone book, and I called the guy and I go, "You really need to have Richard get you one of those foam thingies, whatever they were called." And he was freaked out, and I felt like I was in Rear Window. It's like, I can see you. I live across the street.
Were you able?
But I really enjoyed looking at, they would have a model come in and twirl around in the dresses. And I don't know if you know this, my mother was a fashion designer, so I'm really aware of all things fashion. And Richard Tyler dressed Rod Stewart.
Okay. Did not know that.
Wow.
Yeah. So, he dresses Rod Stewart, or he did. And I would get really excited when he'd have male models. I'm like, oh, is that Rod Stewart going to wear that on his next tour?
Well, Rod, he wore it well.
But
Did you get to go to New York during the heyday of the scene at CBGB's and all of that?
I did, because I grew up in this neighborhood in Santa Barbara where Lance Loud also grew up. And when An American Family was being filmed for PBS, they were in our high school. They were in the ballet class that I had with Michelle Loud. I was really aware of it. And Lance was kind of like my idol, And so I tell you, my mother is a fashion designer. My life is full of gay men, and it's all my best friends. And so Lance moved to New York basically the day after he graduated from high school. He'd send back postcards like, I met Andy Warhol and I'm moving there as soon as I can. And we would go visit him, because we had someone to visit in New York, and would go to CBGB's and would just tool around all over, and just like get to know New York from his perspective.
Yeah.
And I was always looking for Andy Warhol, and I met him with Lance. And I signed an autograph to Andy Warhol on a picture that I took of Lance. It's like Lance wanted to give him this picture of him, and he was like, "Give me that picture." And I said, "Well, I took that picture." And Andy goes, "Well, then you have to sign it."
You have to sign it.
Did he live up to his reputation?
Yes, he was quirky. In his cockeyed wig, and he talks like Rodney.
Yeah, that is true. By the way, we also had Christian Hoffman on our show.
Christian Hoffman, and his records are so fantastic. Of course, they're big, and he like works with all the best people. He worked with Klaus Nomi and Ann Magnuson and Rufus Wainwright. He is so good, and he curated that Sympathy for the Record Industry retrospective on the Mumps.
Right. Yes.
A lot of my pictures are in there. Wow. There was one night where I think I shot like 14 rolls of film. And anyone who's old like me or still uses a mechanical camera knows like that was a serious investment, especially for a 20-year-old. Because now if you just bring a bunch of SD cards, you can take all the pictures you want, and you don't like it, that's taking up too much space, erase. But back then you had to, have faith in your vision.
And think about
it. And you had to think about it, and you had to know the songs. You had to either like go with your gut instinct or have seen a band many times to know and predict what they were going to do. And with Lance, I mean, anything he did was picturesque.
Well, I want to follow up there with the fact with film. How did you, throughout your years, your younger years, how did you afford film? You were shooting a lot of pictures, and film, as I know, was not cheap. I mean, my parents, when I was in high school, they built me in the basement a dark room, and they got me all the developing equipment and 35 millimeter camera, and she just passed out on us.
No, I know, my phone fell down. But
it was pretty exciting.
It was, right? We're back, right? Oh, look, everyone can read my palm now. That was exciting. So we're live. Got live if you want it.
That's right. Except that wasn't really live. So,
but I would buy me film in bulk. You can get it.
Yeah. But so did you grow up in New Jersey or?
I grew up in Pennsylvania near Allentown.
Okay, but so you were, in a college town, because I grew up in Santa Barbara, which is also a college town. Yep. It's a little more advantageous because there's film schools.
Sure. Yep.
And so there's processing out there. And I remember, I'm 67, so I was a teenager in the 70s. And I remember a roll of film cost $6, and it cost $6 to process.
Right. Yeah.
And so I had an allowance, but also when I was the firstborn daughter. My father was the youngest of 4 kids. His little job as a youngster and as a teenager was to chaperone his oldest sister when she went on dates. And his parents would give him an allowance for doing that. And his sister and her boyfriend would give him money to get lost until they had to go home together or show up at home together. So he figured out,
he's a genius.
He figured out how to make money off of that. But because he's a girl dad, whenever I went on a date, he would give me $50 because he had no idea what anything was worth. And I remember watching Breakfast at Tiffany's with him because he thought Audrey Hepburn was cute, because you know what, she is. Mm-hmm. And she's always going, well, it's $50 for the powder room. I mean, he's not making the connection that she's a call girl, you know. And so he just thought, oh, well, you go on a date, you should have $50. And he would tell me that I should feel free to take a taxi home if I needed to, or pick up the tab so I wouldn't feel obligated. You know, this is all dad code for him. Yeah, sure. But I was a very empowered teenage girl. And he never made me give the money back. Like, oh, you're back on your date. Where's my $50? No, I kept it. And so I very quickly had a war chest for going to concerts and buying merch and buying film.
Well, and did you ever admit this to your dad?
You ever admit it?
Like later in life?
No.
You talked about the movie camera too. My parents also in the early '70s or mid '70s got me a Super 8, silent camera, and I don't think they understood the cost of the cartridge of film and the developing of it. I know I didn't, because that really quickly went by the wayside after about 6 months of like, hey, can I have $15 so I could go, and it was like, whoa, this is quite expensive. But when they built the darkroom, buying film in bulk made a huge difference, because I rolled my own canisters, and 36 exposures in it, and that made a big difference.
It does, yeah. Later, when I was a professional in my 30s and 40s, I got an endorsement from Kodak for cinema film. And I would take the ends of it and just roll them into, because it's the same size, 35.
Yeah.
And you just have sprockets put in. If you go to Technicolor, they'll do that for you. So you would use cinema film to take stills.
And when you were in New York and the whole Andy Warhol period, did you ever get into Polaroids?
I love Polaroids. It's one of my favorite formats.
Yeah, I do a lot of Polaroids too, and these are a couple of my mom and dad and things. This is when we were in Italy, and they've both passed now, and I've titled this one "Their View from Heaven," and we were overlooking the ocean. But I love the Polaroid format myself, and
I'm gonna get one, a new one, by whoever's making them now.
The Fuji film is making.
Yeah.
All right, Theresa, see if you remember this.
Oh.
It's more than a camera. It's almost alive. It's only $19.95. Who is that? What is that?
No idea.
What's that? Really? Neither of you know?
No.
I bet he does. Dave knows. It's the Polaroid Swinger. You're the same age. We're the same age, and I used to see that commercial as a kid all the time.
Oh.
I was brought up in New York. Maybe that wasn't that had
maybe it was a regional commercial, because there were regional commercials in California, because of regional products. But I mean, Polaroid's obviously an international product. But oh wow, I did not know that. I just know your average, plop plop fizz fizz.
That was a really cool late '60s Polaroid. I got to ask you this, because we haven't yet, and it seems like the most obvious question to ask. How did you get in? How did you get into punk? Did it become your favorite genre really quickly?
I think it was just all around me. When I was at UCLA, I would just go out to concerts. I'd go to like any concert, but because I think of Lance, and he had a band and it was really quirky, and they were like Sparks. So I would go out and see Sparks, and then I would go see this local band called The Quick, And so,
Oh,
Steve
God, I
Hofstetter,
love the
he
Quick.
wrote songs for the Dickies and Red Cross and stuff. So I saw the Quick, and it was just all the same people, and they would all start having bands. And simultaneous to me doing this, Pleasant Gaiman, you did pronounce her name correctly. She met the future Darby Crash and Pat Smear at a Queen concert. I met them all camping out for tickets to see David Bowie on the Station to Station tour. And I had my dad's credit card because, concert tickets are an emergency. Right?
Yes,
Well, why not?
they are.
An emergency. And I just remember, I think that Darby only had, like $8, which was like $7.50 for the ticket and whatever, And he wanted to eat, and we were camped out overnight. And I said, I have a credit card. I will buy your ticket. You go get a hot dog. And so that's how we became good friends, because I facilitated David Bowie for him. And he used to come hang out in my dorm at UCLA. We had this bonding moment where David Bowie and Iggy Pop were on Dinah Shore show. And we brought this little portable 13-inch black and white TV into the dorm lounge, and we watched him, do that. And then he's like, well, yeah, we got to have a band, he and Pat. So there was the Germs. And that's my other iconic photo, is that I was the only photographer they knew. And so we're going to try to be a band. Come take pictures. And so that's the cover of the single Forming, which was probably one of the first, if not the first, independently released punk singles in LA.
Well, all I have to say is after that single came out, Mr. and Mrs. Smear must have been proud of Pat. Why would they name their kid Pat with a last name? Never mind.
George Ruthenberg.
Yeah. Now, wait a minute. So you went to UCLA, and you're the same age as I am. Didn't Vicki Peterson go to UCLA as well?
Yes.
Were you classmates?
No, but I knew her outside. I gave the Bangles, they were then the Bangs. And even before then, she was in a band called Those Girls with her sister, and with a woman named Lynn Elkin, who has since passed, and then a bass player named Amanda, who is now, like an Egyptologist of great note. But I took pictures of their band because I had an internship at all the gentlemen's magazines every semester, because they paid you $200 a week. The Los Angeles Times, you had to pay to park there. And,
Did you say Gentleman's Magazine?
I said Gentlemen's Magazine.
Okay. I thought I heard that right. Okay.
Yes, you did. And, my archive is in the Hugh Hefner Moving Image Archive at USC.
Wow.
That's where it's from. Yeah. So my heart is, and Hugh Hefner's company is run by his daughter.
Yes.
And he was a very powerful girl dad. I approve. All the pornographers actually, they were very strong and powerful in protecting First Amendment rights.
Oh, for sure.
And because they had the resources to litigate them.
Sure. Yeah.
You don't have to approve of what they do, but they have the right to do what they do.
Yeah.
And they had the resources to make free press available for everybody.
Good point. Yeah, good point. Well, at what point does Lobotomy zine come into play?
Our first cover was the Mumps, because Pleasant, and we just loved them, and when it was like childhood friend, and we loved them because they were quirky, and they were like Sparks, only they were our age. And
the Brainless magazine, I love it.
Well, that's after the Teenage Lobotomy, the Ramones song.
Yeah.
Nobody was covering any of the bands that we liked. We couldn't even find listings, and so we just decided to take it upon ourselves to create this. And it was also a way to, get into shows for free and get free records.
That's right.
Some of these covers are fantastic. This Blondie picture in this cover is really, really something.
I thank you.
and the Billy Idol cover. Look at that.
Yeah, you can start to see the development happening here.
Sure. Yeah. Really something. Really amazing. So tell us more about lobotomy. It came about at while you're in UCLA.
Mhm. Yes, and Pleasant and Randy were still in high school. They went to Beverly Hills High School.
Okay, all right, and you were selling this. You were selling this locally.
Yeah, record stores.
Record stores, and I know you did tell a little story, which will be in your memoirs, but of giving the record stores the zines, and then showing up and saying, "Can we get paid for this so we can take this money to go get tickets to go see?"
Yeah. We sold it for 75 cents. We raised the price to 85 cents, and we would sell out, but we, maybe gave a record store like 10 or 20 copies. And so, figure we get 70 cents, and it's like, that's enough for a ticket to get into the whiskey. They were really cool though, because our friend Anna Statman worked at Licorice Pizza across the street from the whiskey. And, and she went on to, she was still a record store clerk. She played in a band called the Red Lights with Jeffrey Lee Pierce. This is like 2 bands before the Gun Club. And then she and Randy went on to become really formidable A&R people. She worked at Interscope. Randy worked at Sire. I think they both worked at Slash. They worked at Slash.
Oh, yeah.
Randy signed the Violent Femmes.
Wow. Okay. So it's a big one.
Yeah, it's this little, and even the weirder thing, the whole synchronicity of all of us. When I moved to New York, I lived in an apartment in Soho at Prince and Mulberry, just because we all know the landscape. The phone number that was assigned to me used to belong to Gordon Gano, and I got a message on my answering machine. "Hey, Gordon, this is whoever. I've got some Knicks tickets. Do you want to go?" I was so tempted to call this guy and go, "Oh, hi, I'm Gordon's roommate, and he can't go, but I'll go with you."
Were you a basketball fan or just for the hell of it?
No, I like the Knicks and I like the Lakers. And when I was living in Los Angeles still, I worked at Lee Salter's PR firm, and he represented the Lakers.
Oh.
And I went to UCLA, so basketball is kind of the only sport that I understand.
Sure, yeah. Yeah.
No, they were great, but the Lakers weren't at that point.
No, but they had Pat Riley.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a girl. They had Pat Riley.
Yeah,
he was so suave and debonair. So handsome. And I never got tickets. Like, all of the men in the firm got tickets. And so, like 30 years later, I'm working on the Bruce Springsteen tour and doing VIP hospitality room. And lo and behold, there's Pat Riley. And I'm like, "Oh, coach, can I get you anything?" Because it's a VIP hospitality room. It's my job to VIP him. And it's like, and he just says off the cuff, "Well, I would really like a pair of tickets to every show that corresponds with the city that the Heat are playing." And it's like, "I can do that for you. I got 4 tickets for every show. And as you can see, I don't use them because I'm working." And so we exchanged phone numbers. And then I went on to tell him that I worked for Lee Salters when he was coaching the Lakers, and I never got to see the Lakers. And when I worked in New York at a law firm, all of the men in the firm got, Knicks tickets, and like, not me. And he said, "That ends here. We have a ticket swap going on." And so I've seen the Heat play the Knicks and play the Lakers thanks to Pat Riley.
Wow.
Yeah, and that brings up another question. As a woman, as a female photographer, did the men in these bands treat you with respect, or did they try to get you to do things, and or what?
Memoir.
I'm a sassy. I get my way. If I don't want something, I don't want it. Robbie Robertson flirted with me until I aged out for him. And I was always like, no. Because I just imagine, Robbie Robertson's really handsome, really talented. Talented beyond anything, But I could tell he was a player. And also he's 15 years older than me. I mean, no.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you were always too old for Rodney.
just remember Kim Fowley would always say off-color things to me. And I would, you know what
What
I
a
would say?
surprise.
I was like, oh, shut up, old man. I mean, that's just really, you know.
What was the story I read about Kim Fowley? You weren't saying some things that he liked. Did he threaten to sue you?
Oh, he threatened to sue Pleasant. She just she called him an asshole in lobotomy. And he calls her up and says, you know, you can't say that about me. And she's like, why not? Because I'm going to sue you and retract that. And it's like, we can't afford to do another print run. That costs $100 to make all those, you know. So she rode the bus all over town and took those little safety kindergarten scissors and cut out that line.
May he rest in peace, but he was an asshole.
Oh yeah. And you know what's really sad is that there are so many people who are very talented and they're assholes. And it's just like, do you have to be such a jerk?
Yeah. Well, you know, so it's funny because sometimes it seems like the reason they get to the level that they get to is because they were being such jerks, and sometimes jerks get their way, you know. And
I think it's because the people just want you to shut up and they give in to you.
Give in to you, yes.
On the other hand, you know, I was a girl and I really understood the power of being a girl. My mother and my sister, very beautiful, and I would just watch them sort of bat their eyelashes and get everything they want, from let me carry this to your car to, you know, oh, let me do that. You know, I was a smart one. You know, it's like I would ask for help. It's like, oh, I think you can figure this out. And then, you know, being a smart ass, I would go, yes, I have figured it out. And I figured out that you are going to be the one to do this for me because you're better at it than I am.
Who's your all-time favorite punk band, or can you even choose one?
I can't even choose one, but I tell you, like the Weirdos are still playing. And, you know, we got the neutron bomb, always going to be valid, right? And I loved the Dills, Chip Kinman still playing. You know, I mean, and they really, you know, in that build up to Reagan, as if they knew, you know, I hate the rich, class war. They saw it, you know.
We had Chip Kinman played my festival. We did a show at the Knitting Factory, and it was the Kinman brothers at that point. They were doing a lot of rank and file stuff.
Rank and True rank and file, and did they do Blackbird stuff too? Their electronic stuff? I
don't. Fortunately, no. It wouldn't have fit with what they knew. They knew our ethos, and they wouldn't. You know, they knew that wouldn't fit with what we were doing.
They know their audience. I mean, they're really good. I mean, you know, and they like so many things. They were like the first cowpunk band. Yeah. You know, rank and file with Alejandro.
Yep. Yeah. Theresa, again, you know, I talked about the fact that you send us a lot of these photos that you've taken, and absolutely fascinating. And I love it. I'd like to go through some of them right now. If you could talk a bit about it. First of all, the one that stood out, I popped it up a little earlier, is the Whiskey presents, the Lobotomy magazine presents Flesh Eaters X. And I noticed the Alley Cats, and that brought back memories for me. I saw the Alley Cats probably 3 or 4 times here in New Jersey. They opened up for the Professionals, which were the ex-Sex Pistols, you know, with Jones and Cook, and they opened up for 999 twice. I used to know, I mean, I still do. I know the guys from 999 very well, but boy, the Alley Cats, I completely forgot about that band, and that brought back great memories. That picture is fantastic. And,
you know, the Alley Cats, I think that all those South, because they were from Lomita in the South Bay. And so I've noticed that a lot of the South Bay bands actually play well with everybody. So like the Alley Cats and the Last and the Minutemen. You could put them with anyone and it would always work. It would make sense. All the fans liked each other. They liked all the other bands. Yeah. And I love the Alley Cats. There's a band in Memphis, a garage band. They were called the River City Tan Lines, and the singer Alicia Trout, Jay Retard made music with her a lot. Anyway, she did a cover of Nothing Means Nothing Anymore. like in the 2000s.
Wow.
So
Cool.
that, the alley cats have legs. I was so surprised. I did an exhibit in Tallahassee.
Wow.
And I had no idea like how serious the South takes its college football. Because I just go book this show and I show up and I think, oh, I'll just go get a motel room. Well, it was like Florida and Florida State were playing and
Oh, boy.
not a room to be had. I had to rent a car and drive to some other town afterwards. But all these kids, they were asking about the alley cats. And, Diane Chai lives in Florida now. So there were Diane Chai spottings. And they were like, oh, is she true she lives in Florida? It's like, I don't know. Let me get in touch with her.
And you talked about, doing these exhibits, all these photos too. You've been touring this punk turns 30. Of course, that punk turns 30 now. We're gaining on that a little bit. But you do shows all over the country with your traveling exhibits and these photos. So yeah, if anybody happens to see Theresa and Punk Turns 30,
how did I turn sideways?
I don't know. Did we have an
Your phone
earthquake?
must have moved a little bit.
Yeah, pick your
Just
phone.
reorient it. Yeah, there. You had it. There you go.
I'm back.
Yeah.
It's live.
Like poltergeist.
Don't feel bad because we had one guest. We won't make fun of her, but we had one guest of an older nature from an old iconic film from she was on her phone and she couldn't get it right, and the whole interview she was like this. And
is there anybody in there?
it was the craziest things. We were like, no, just sit back, sit down, move back a little bit, and she'd be like this.
Oh God, that's so incredible. I've seen like so many people of my friends like helping their parents out with just leave it alone. And so our parents are like, if they're still around, they're like 80s and 90s and
yeah, my dad's 94.
Wow, my mother would be 99 if she was around, and my father would be 103.
Wow.
Yeah, they were old. They were old parents,
I wanted to ask you about this photo, if you could give me a little explanation. This is not one you actually took. This is one
I took that.
Oh, you took this?
I sure did.
Okay, all right. The Venture Surfing.
Do you see my photo credit there on the bottom?
Oh, do I see it? Where's it?
It was cut off, maybe.
Might be. No, I don't see it. That's why I was wondering whether.
Oh yeah. So the Ventures. So Dan and David Kessel, who went by other names, they're Barney Kessel's kids, the jazz guitar player. They went by Dan Phillips, and I don't remember what name David used, but anyway, they were record producers. They worked with Phil Spector. They worked on John Lennon's rock and roll album. Anyway, they were, like most people would say, oh, there's Hollywood Nepo babies, but I met them. They worked at Gold Star. I mean, they have credibility. And they did this Ventures record where the Ventures covered the song Surfin' and Spying, which Charlotte Caffey from the Go-Go's wrote. And so they brought all this stuff into my spare bedroom studio, and we took those pictures. And then there's another picture on the other side where Pleasant's looking back over her shoulder.
So this is Pleasant?
Yes, that's Pleasant.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Put things together as to who that was, but thank you.
Yeah, that's Pleasant, and those are real guns.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, she's not looking very pleasant right there, but
no, well, it's supposed to, be spying and surfing.
Yeah.
So they did that. They also had me shoot. Annette Funicello and Frankie Avalon did a Christmas single. Together We Can Have a Merry Christmas. I have that someplace. Yes, it's red.
Sure Rodney played that a few times.
Yes, and I have a picture of all of them: Frankie, Annette, the Kessel brothers, Rodney.
Are you reading the comment? Yeah, Christine is saying hello from Eastern North Carolina. Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Yeah, and Frank Sessage made sure.
Christine's Frank?
Yes, it looks like he said
Frank's cousin Christine.
Is that who it is? Frank's cousin Christine. Well,
Yeah.
Frank's cousin Christine. Well, and speaking of Frank and Frank Association's wonderful picture of Mr. Stiv Bators. That look at the eyeballs on that.
Yeah.
He looks exactly like his father. I mean, they're both really short men with sparkling blue eyes, and they have the same teeth and the same little smile. And
speaking of teeth, here he is brushing his teeth on stage.
Yes.
Wow, these are awesome.
And that picture got damaged in Hurricane Katrina. It was rescued from storage, and I decided not to, restore it. I mean, I've scanned it, and I wanted to keep all the damaged thing there because I kind of think it's cool. I just wanted that's what happened to the picture, so you can see.
Christine just replied, "Yes, you remembered XOXO." So it must be Frank's cousin Christine.
Yeah, we were all at the premiere of the Stiv Bators documentary in New York in 2019, I think.
Yeah, it was a great documentary.
Stiv looked like masturbators, huh?
Yes, he did.
Okay.
Oh, look, you had Jim, and yes.
And there you are with Frank
and Greg Kostelich.
Greg, and then the previous picture was with Jim Kenzer.
With Jim, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, with Frank's book, you took that picture on his cover, Not That Way Anymore.
I did.
Which is, again, great book of Frank stories, which we absolutely love. Great photo.
When I forget things, I write to Frank, and it's like, do you remember this thing? Would you tell me?
Well, Frank has a memory that's incredible. I don't know how he does it, but that's what I was going to ask you about your upcoming memoir you want to write. How are you remembering so many of the details? Did you keep any kind of diaries and such?
I did. I kept copious notes, and it turns out that Andy Warhol and I were doing exactly the same thing. When I turned 15, I started keeping a driving diary to prove to my parents that I was responsible enough so they could get me a car. And, so I would write down, how much gas cost and what mileage, and if I drove somebody home. This one kid I drove home, and he gave me 25 cents for gas, and gas was 37 cents a gallon. So they would think, oh, well, that's pretty clever of her, getting 75% of 1 gallon of gas paid. So I kept notes, and then I would write down where I went, who I went with, who was there. Then I started writing practice record reviews if I bought a new record, because that's what we did every Tuesday. Remember when records used to be released on Tuesdays?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the whole thing. It's we get our allowance on Saturday, and we would not go anywhere that weekend because we wanted to, and I would write, 2-3 sentence record reviews. I became pen pals with Lenny Kaye. He actually gave me a photo column in Rock Scene where I would send him pictures of LA bands. And they published a few of them, and I would just send him the Plumsouls are really great because they cover the Knickerbockers. And then Phil Lynott showed up and played with them. Stuff like that, Well,
I just want to mention while we're looking at these fantastic photos and talking about it, punkturns30.com is a website associated with Theresa and everything, but she's also got this wonderful Substack, punkturns30again.substack.com. All these things are running across the bottom of the screen throughout our whole interview. So if anybody is interested in much more of the story, the Substack is fantastic. I've been reading that continuously. Or if you want to get in touch with Theresa via Instagram, her Instagram is punkturns30. It's hard to forget that punkturns30 is in all of these things. So,
you know what? Punk is turning 50.
50. Yeah.
And so, Pat Smear and Pleasant and I actually talked about that earlier this year. And we have big plans for the Summer of Hate, because that's what they called it, the Summer of Hate. Summer of Love, Summer of Hate.
Right. Sure.
And so we are collaborating together and sort of like a braid. Pat's doing some things, Pleasant's doing some things, I am doing some things. So I'm just going to do like 50 years of photos. And so do you notice that the word respect is included in the word retrospect? Well, I did it that way because I just think people should respect history.
Very cool.
Damn right.
And so I'm going to do a world tour actually. You know how everyone in Spain loves rock and roll? So I'm just going to go to Spain and do stuff all over Spain. I recently found out that the Battersea Power Station is a rentable venue. There's like movie theater in there, and so what I really want to do, one of the photos that I really like is one night when Sid Vicious died, I get a call in the middle of the night from Stiv going, "So you know that billboard for Heaven Can Wait? Well, it's now an obituary to Sid. Come take pictures of me on it."
Wow.
And so, he wakes me up at 2 a.m, and I meet him at this billboard, and he's climbing up there, and we took pictures of it. And I took pictures of the billboard without Stiv too. And it turned out that Cream used it as a half page in Sid's obit.
Oh.
And it's become this, thing. And for decades, I thought that Stiv was the one who spray painted all that. And it turns out it was Nicole Panter and Gabby Berlin, Nicole Panter, who managed the Germs.
Okay.
And she just one day out of the blue, like maybe 10 years ago, asked me, "Oh, can I get a print of that?" She goes, "Gabby and I did that." And it's like, Stiv had convinced me that he did it. And I was telling people that Stiv did it because he wanted to just go up there and pose with his handiwork. But no, he just wanted to pose because Sid was a friend of his, and Sid would follow Stiv around like a puppy. Sid and Nancy would follow Stiv and Cynthia Ross around like Stiv and Cynthia were just like the prime punk people, and Sid and Nancy wanted to be like them.
Wow.
Now, I'm never forgiven the newscaster Roger Grimsby for the obituary he gave when he said Sid is no longer vicious, he's dead. I was like really pissed off at him for that. That was Eyewitness News in New York. I was brought up in New York, so I saw that.
Yeah, I know. I mean, newscasters drive me crazy. I mean, it's just, there's been clickbait. It's just,
Yeah. Even in what year was it? 1980?
79. 1979. Mm-hmm.
Who was the first punk band?
Huh?
Who was the first punk band, do you think?
Oh, it's a toss-up between the Velvet Underground, the Stooges, or the MC5.
Okay, so...
Yeah, I think a lot of people...
And this always becomes a big argument in the power pop community, which I'm a huge part of.
Who's the first power pop band? Toss up between the Beatles and the Who.
See, now this is always the bone of contention. Is that stuff the progenitors of power pop, or is it actually power pop? Now I know Pete Townsend coined the term, but a lot of us think that Badfinger was the first power pop.
Well, I would agree with you there because Badfinger just sort of synthesized everything, but there's no power in power pop without The Kids Are All Right. It's like the chord that begins The Kids Are All Right is like the chord in A Hard Day's Night. It's that iconic, you know what it is without a doubt.
Yeah. But what about the first punk band in the of the 70s scene?
You mean like the Ramones?
Was it them?
It has to be.
Okay.
I mean, I just remember they must have been around in 74, 75 playing.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting how much Joey loved bubblegum music, and he really wanted to be a bubblegum band, and
Johnny Thunders even liked girl groups, and you could actually take the New York Dolls as the first punk band.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Except that the David Johansen's blues thing and Johnny's girl group thing they're just a rock band that dressed well.
Yeah, and I think so many times the word punk gets confused a little bit with with volume or viciousness, or it can get so many different meanings in people's heads. When I think of the Ramones, the word punk doesn't immediately come to my mind. I think that they're just kind
a
of
lot of it was the way they looked, but
the way they looked.
I see them as punk pop, really.
Punk pop.
Yeah, and you know what? Clem Burke from Blondie always said that the Ramones were the Beatles of our generation, and because he never called it punk. And that's Clem's favorite picture of himself.
There it is, Clem Burke. May he rest in peace.
Punk rock's most valuable player.
With a Ramones T-shirt on right there.
He always represented CBGBs. Clem. Yep. Wherever he went, he just.
This is your photo, Theresa?
It is.
Yeah, very nice.
Thank you. It's just one of my favorite pictures that I've ever taken.
Absolutely incredible.
Clem is my brickmate on the Cavern Wall of Fame.
Oh, that's
great.
Right.
You have that photo. Cue the photo.
Yeah, here's the photo of Daivd with his brick on the Cavern Club's Wall of Fame. And now, you can't see it, but right to the left of his photo is Clem Burke. So
and little Stephen right below. Yeah, I've done my music festival, International Pop Overthrow in Liverpool for 21 years. And last year, our 20th year, the director of the Cavern, John Keats, said, "We really want to honor you. You brought us 2,000 bands over the years from all over the world. We want to give you a brick on the wall." And it's the best honor I'll ever get, because I'm the only non-musician, non-DJ in the entire world to have a brick.
That's fantastic. Yeah.
Right next to Clem too, which was, I knew him a little, so that was really nice.
And it's like Blondie were the first non-Mumps New York band that I knew.
Yeah.
And they're lifelong friends. And I knew Debbie Harry for 40 years before anyone took a picture of us together.
Wow. Look at that photo. Look at the hair.
Love that photo, yeah.
That's my favorite of all her outfits. She's wearing a Crossing Guards orange vest. And that's from April 1978. And their tour was Blondie as a group. They had this big banner that they hung on stage. It says Blondie as a group. And they were doing songs from the forthcoming Parallel Lines. They were doing Hanging on the Telephone there. I don't think they broke out Heart of Glass until the summer. Did I send you a picture of Debbie wearing the pink and green dress? Oh, that one I call Ex-Offender. That's because that's my favorite.
I was just about to say that.
That's my favorite Blondie song. I mean, they had lots of great songs, but I love Ex-Offender so much.
Well, it opens their oeuvre, basically.
Yeah, it's so great.
No, it's a great photo. Now, I don't think you sent me the one with the dress. No, I'm just looking around here a little bit.
Oh, well, it's just like the punk rock flag. It's like hot pink and neon chartreuse. So hot, it's the punk flag. It's the red, white, and blue of punk rock.
And now speaking of some other iconic ladies.
We went to high school together, right?
Well, no, I mean, you told me that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so Belinda and I, we went to neighboring high schools, and we were both in speech and debate. And, believe it or not, we were both really good students. And so we were always winning, placing in speech and debate competitions. And when the judges would announce our names, they just we knew it was one of us. Because, we were both K names. Her name is Krzyzewski. And that's how we bonded. Because, we're the, girls who liked fashion and glam rock, and we had weird K names. And then I would start seeing her at Rodney's English Disco.
Of course.
And then she and Lorna Doom, whose real name is Theresa Ryan, we were roommates for a short period of time. While they were looking for an apartment, they came to stay with me. We called my apartment the famous lobotomy apartment, because that's where we would paste it up. And if anyone out there has Kid Congo Power's book, on page 55, he describes how he meets me in Pleasant and what we were like and how we pasted up lobotomy in my apartment.
Wow.
And also, I just got this in the mail and I'm fulfilling orders now. I'm like Marky Smith. I'm my own shipping clerk. So I made this little zine. Pleasant and I used to go into Ralph's on Sunset and La Brea. That's
I
called
know
Rock
it.
and Roll Ralph's. Yeah, you
Yep.
know it, but like maybe your listeners don't. And so we would go and just go in the aisles and just take pictures. You know, we'd go grocery shopping and a photo session would break out. And so I just now sold out of my first printing.
Oh, congratulations.
So that's my whole, like 50 years of photos. I realized that unless you do books, the indie rock way, the DIY way, you're making $1 a book. I make much more than this by printing it myself and fulfilling the orders myself. Because I can reach 100% of my audience. I mean, Hachette may be like the biggest publisher of pop culture stuff, but it's like they can't price things, so my friends and fans can afford it. I can. And if I had a book published by Hachette, I'd be making like $1.40 a book. And I'm making more than $1.40. So anyway, I'm just like DIY all the way.
And these things can be so punkturns30.com is the best place.
Yes, well, I'm going to do a link tree. I figured out how to do that.
Okay.
So I'm like that old lady, like, oh, why do I do this tech? But I'm going to do a link tree on punkturns30.com and I'll announce it to you, and so you could, like share it with people.
Yes, please do.
That I will just put links to everything because I have a little site where people can buy these books, and there's nothing more than $20.
Wonderful. All right, good. Yeah, please let us know. I'm running all those websites along the bottom as we're talking right now. Let's see. I had another picture of Belinda right there, which I love.
That one. She's watching the Dickies play.
Okay.
And this is the concert. This is a renowned in Dickies lore concert because Leonard jumped off the balcony at the Starwood and broke his leg that night.
Oh wow!
Wow.
Yeah.
Photo.
And he went on and he played the next night too. But this photo was used in the little film at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame when the Go-Go's were inducted. I mean, it just shows her she's like a fan of the music.
Yes, yeah, she's got her hands on what looks like the monitor.
Yes.
And you saw. I don't know where you were taking the photo from, but you got a great angle. Somebody's elbows right there. It looks like.
That's Leonard's. That's Leonard's elbow.
Oh, okay.
The singer. I was in the balcony that he jumped off of eventually.
Oh,
but I was in the balcony. I'm 5'2", so being up front is kind of bad because I'll get all those up the nostril shots. So I always got to shoot from the balcony or at the Starwood or on the stairs at the Whiskey.
It's amazing. It's such a
You and Charlotte Caffey and Anna Warrenker were 5'2".
Yes. It's a good height. We can wear the high heels and still not be taller.
Not too bad.
And speaking, here's a photo with you in it. I love this photo. You're kissing somebody.
Oh, Keith Richards. Yeah. And there's John Spacely with the eye patch, who was the mascot for John Holmstrom's Punk magazine, and failed publisher Spacely.
Look at that! I love that photo.
So that's on Keith's 55th birthday, and his manager was throwing him a party at the same time all of his underground friends threw him a party, and I'm telling him, Jane just walked in. You're going to have to wrap it up here and go to your real party. And we went to his real party, and they had 55 cakes there that spelled out happy birthday.
Oh, wow.
I mean, she had some money to spend, and it was really great.
It's incredible.
But yeah, that was at an underground place around the corner from his apartment. And the address of that club was 666 Broadway. And he was just tickled. You found a 666 address. You guys are so weird.
Let's see. Here's another one I love too. Big Billy Idol fan, Generation X back in the day, and
yes, and so you see the guy in the white pants taking the Polaroid of him.
Right.
That's Brendan Burke. He worked at Chrysalis at the time. He's a friend of mine, and he was in charge of taking Billy around. He eventually became Billy's manager. But I owe so much to Brendan Burke, who has the exact same birthday as Elvis Costello, so he's special somehow.
Okay.
I don't believe in astrology except when things like that happen. Like.
Look at that.
Billy knew, man. He just knew. That's. I love that. You know, it's like, will you pose under that? And he's like, fuck yeah, I will.
It's such a great, you had such a great eye for the little things that make photos, come to life and really pop. That's what I love about your photos. They're just
What? But thank you. But you know what?
Yeah.
We could hold Elvis for a second, but I want to tell you about like the eye. So I studied Mick Rock and I studied Cream.
okay.
And Mick Rock I studied for his composition, and Cream I studied for what was publishable, like what caught a photo editor's eye. And the whole thing about Cream was their irreverent captions.
Oh, yeah.
And so whenever I would see somebody, 'cause I didn't realize that Boy Howdy was just a sticker, you know?
Me neither.
I know. And isn't that, now I have a bunch of them. It's like, yeah, no, that's over. But I thought I need to take pictures so Cream can put like a really snarky caption underneath it. And that's why Billy with the hair. But that Elvis Costello picture, that's the first night he played in Los Angeles. And I don't know if you've read his memoir, which is the size of a phone book, but it's riveting.
Yeah.
And what I really like about his memoirs, he like breaks down how he wrote songs and how he was into Motown and stuff. And it's like, that's what I want to know. This concert, he talks about playing at the Whiskey and how he could see into the audience where there was a guy groping the girl in front of him and it made him angry. He took this bottle and broke it and he's just holding it and he's threatening the guy.
Wow.
With the jagged glass, like, you get your hands off her or you're going to meet the business end of this bottle. He wrote about it. And so I've sent him this, and then I also made this collage out of it and I exhibit that.
Absolutely cool shot. And again, as I said, yeah, your eye for the shot, the angles, just really, really well done. I always kind of aspired to do that. Could never do it really well with my photography when I was young. I do it better now.
You're Instamatic?
Yeah, I do it better now with my Polaroids, but yeah, it's just so good. There's a great one here. Here it is, of Tom Petty again. Look at that.
That's the first time that he played in Los Angeles as Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers. They opened for Blondie.
Wow, what a show.
Yeah, that week it was Tom Petty and Heartbreakers opening for Blondie, and then Blondie opening for the Ramones.
Wow.
But you could tell that Tom Petty was just going to be huge. In fact, I was in England in the summer of '76, and the guys from Stiff Records, Jake Riviera and Dave, they were saying, oh, if you ever see the name Tom Petty, go see him. And he was making his first album at the very same time I was in England. And I'd like to know how Jake Riviera had this intel, that Tom Petty was great, because a few months later, and it's the week after Election Day, I remember it because I voted for the first time for the president, and it was Jimmy Carter.
Yes.
And I remember the week after that, because I saved my record buying money the week of Election Day, because I wanted to actually spend that money to go out and have a steak dinner for $2.95 at Tiny Nailers on Election Day to celebrate voting. And so I would have a little extra money for the next week. And the next week is when the Tom Petty debut album came out. And I'm looking at it and I'm like, oh, this is what Jake Riviera told me about. And Jake Riviera knew all these girls in LA because he was the road manager for Dr. Feelgood. Mm-hmm. And no matter what anyone says, every girl in LA, it's total crush on Wilco Johnson.
Okay.
Just, you know that now. Like, all the girls of a certain age, it's like, Wilco Johnson. We love that guy. But I look at this record and I turn it over and I look at the songs as if it's going to mean anything to me. First of all, I look at the back of the record and it's like, if the Rolling Stones were American, Exile on Main Street would look like this, because it's just dark and smoky and they all look like they're up to no good. And this song is called American Girl. And that's what Jake used to call me. He would go, oh, that American girl, me. And so it's like, well, I have to have this. And so I took it home, and instead of listening to the record in order, I listened to American Girl first. and it was like the Birds meet Bo Diddley and the with the Everly Brothers harmonies. And it's like, this is my new favorite band. I've listened to that record every single day since
Wow.
I bought it. I've never not listened to that record.
One of the earliest songs in the soundtrack of Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Remember that girl you liked? You went to the photo mat, spent $40 on fucking film, and you never even called her. And you don't even own a camera.
I know, and I just think that the synchronicities there are great because like Cameron Crowe is really the great chronicler of Tom Petty, you know, and always uses Tom Petty's music in his movies. Like
Yeah.
Jerry Maguire. I don't like Tom Cruise. He's such a movie star, you know, and he's like no one wants to cast him in a character that has bad times. But Jerry Maguire was perfect because he fell and he rose, and you know it had the character arc that you're supposed to have as a protagonist. But I love when he's in the convertible and he's singing Free Falling so off key. It's just so great. It's such a great moment.
Oh, it's awesome. Here's another. I love this photo of the Cramps.
Oh yeah.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely incredible. All four of them are posed perfectly. It's just great. It's a
Well,
great.
Lux and Pleasant did the art direction there. All those props belong to Lux and Ivy.
Mm.
So we thought they would just have some cool clothes because, you know, we'd seen pictures of them and Ivy always had, you know, she was a dominatrix, we understood. And so we thought, oh, she'd have some good clothes. But no, they opened the suitcase and there's crystal balls and shrunken heads. Oh, it was fantastic. And I liked the monster movie lighting. I took a garage work lamp and I put it on top of the bed. And 500-watt bulb. Yeah, the bedspread caught on fire.
Wow.
But Ivy just got up and as if it had happened to her before.
Right.
You know, she got up and went to the bathroom, ran some water over every towel in there, and just threw the wet towels on extinguished.
Oh my Lord. I love, you know, when I look at, I came across an archive of my parents. I had a lot of photos from the 40s and the 50s, all black and white, all the large format negatives and things. I found a whole stash that they had glued in the back of a photo album because back in those days, they got their film developed, but you didn't get the photos made. You only got photos made once you looked at the negative and said, well, because they were expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I found a whole treasure trove that they had glued these things in the back of the last page so they wouldn't lose the negatives. Got them all printed. I love the little details, not just the person's face, but like this picture we just showed of the Cramps. I'm looking at the bed on the right, trying to figure out if that's like a walking stick that's laying there. Is that a dollar bill? That's what I kind of zoom in on little things like that and go,
You know, yeah, there's a chair hanging from the ceiling.
Stuff like that just absolutely kills me. And of course, with photos, as you know, what I always think, well, what were these people thinking right before the photo was taken? And then what did they do right after the photo was taken? That stuff always fascinates me. I see pictures of my parents when they're 22 years old, sitting on a hill or something. I'm like, what was going through their minds at that moment in 1948 or 1950? And I just, it's just wonderful. And one of my favorite photos of yours, Stiv and Dee Dee. Look, it's just incredible.
Those two, man, the Ramones were so good to Stiv the entire time. I mean, whatever Stiv was doing, he could always count on opening for the Ramones.
Yeah, very, very, very iconic duo right there. Wow.
Dee Dee was my favorite.
Something else. It's hard to believe that all the original Ramones have passed now and have left us. But sometimes you just shake your head and you go, "Holy cow!" But that's the beauty of photography is we've got these images that can take you right back to a place in time, and I just love. I love your photos.
Thank you.
And of course,
I do too, but I must apologize. After 3 weeks of doing music festivals, the adrenaline is leaving me, and I am completely wiped out. So I'm going to have to beg off. I hope you don't mind. But
No, that's okay. Can I suggest you get Here Come the Warm Jets and listen to On Some Faraway Beach? Because when I DJ, that's my closing song all the time.
well, that is a great song. So all right, you know what? I'll cue it up as I fall asleep.
Hey, David, yeah, get some rest, feel better, and I'm gonna take this home with Theresa after you sign off.
All right. Thank you
I'll
so much.
email you, David,
Please.
and we'll chat some more. But thank
Absolutely.
you. Thank
Please,
you for showing up after an exhausting run.
Oh, it's complete pleasure. And I will, yeah, let's definitely stay in touch. And thank you so much for being our guest.
Well, thanks for having me.
Okay. We'll speak with you soon, Mark.
See you, David. Be good.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah, Theresa, looking forward to what's coming up in the future. I know we discussed you're writing your memoirs, and you've sent a couple of the first paragraphs. And again, it reads personally reads so well. It when I talked earlier about you and Frank being, you might be right up there with Frank's with storytelling and whatnot. I think it's going to be a wonderful project. I look forward to that. Well, you'll be working on that as the new year comes in. Is that kind of a 2026 project?
Yeah, it is. I am just going out with. I'm taking. I'm doing the retrospect. Like horses. Patti Smith Horses celebrated its 50th. Everything is turning 50, and so is punk. And I just gonna keep the party going. And I'm going to take, 50 years of photos on the road. I started Punk Turns 30 books. I've got 4 out right now. And my link tree will have the little store. And I'm doing like single volume. When I started scanning pictures for the memoir, I felt like I had hundreds of frames of the Cramps. Like I can't, so I decided to make a Cramps picture book. And then the one of Pleasant when we were in the grocery store, it's like you use a couple of them to make your point, and then you have to move on with the rest of the story. And so it's taking the best of the analog format, like having a tactile book that you can read and turn the pages, and the idea of hyperlinking. Like, oh, if you like this, here's an affordable side volume of stuff. And so that's I just thought it would work well together.
I think it's great. And the great thing about photographs, getting it, in either book form or printing them and having them just like a record album, that physical something that you can look at and hold. And I think it's important that it is printed, and whether it's either in a book form or in a framed format or whatnot. That's just wonderful. And I don't know if you noticed right there, but Frank Sessage is checking in saying, "Wonderful show tonight, Lisa." He loved it.
Oh,
Frank's what? Good to see you.
I'm so glad he's there.
Yes,
I know we have so much fun when we tell stories together. I want to do this thing because he has that song, the Deadbeat Poets at the Stiv Bader's Ghost Tour.
Yep.
Yeah, so I just thought we could do something, actually do it in Youngstown or something.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sure.
Just do an event there.
It's awesome. And we put the retrospective graphic up again. That's going to be a wonderful project. 50 years, retrospect. Welcome TED Talk. I like the talks.
Welcome to my TED Talk. Yes. I always say that, and I say it really sarcastically, when you, and I realize that like everyone is really online, and most of the people who are really online could be my grandchild. They're that young. And it just came to me recently, like, I'm 67. I've seen all the good bands. And I've lived through so much history that I can't begrudge someone who who wasn't born then. But what does annoy me is people making proclamations, especially in hyperbolic terms about facts not in evidence. So I just really, I just respect the history, you know. We're lucky that there are so many living storytellers now and that generations are shorter and shorter. You know, because like when we were kids, our parents would talk about like Woody Herman, and we all knew about big bands and stuff, but a 20-year-old kid now is not going to know that. I know some 20-year-old kids who don't know who the band are. The band were like the Beatles to me.
The older we get, and the younger the people you're talking to get, it is mind blowing to me. And David and I have had this discussion because David was a psychology professor before getting into music. So we were all, and my dad was a psych professor and I minored in child psychology. So we're always talking about the psychology of music, the psychology of collecting, those kind of things. But, you know, I run into 20 somethings now, places that I bartend and things where they don't have a clue about the early 60s Technicolor movies like, you know, South Pacific and Oklahoma. And some people never heard of The Sound of Music, which absolutely shocks me. And I stand there and like I quiver and I go, you've never seen this. And then we get into the music part and you don't know who this is, you know, and it boggles my mind because when I was young, I listened to what my parents were saying about the music they grew up in. And of course, we're very fortunate when growing up in the 60s, we still saw Dean Martin, Sammy Davis, Bing Crosby, Bob Hope, you know, all the crooners, Perry, everybody, they were still on variety shows and we were exposed to that. Then we got to live the 70s, you know, and now we're still alive today and have heard everything since. So when young people tell me, well, you know, that band was not as good as this band of today, I said, well, I can have opinion because I heard that band back then.
I saw that band.
Right.
But just today, I was talking about the Kinks. I was talking about how I met the Kinks. And Blondie had opened a bunch of dates for them. And this was in 1978 where Ray and Dave would be in dressing rooms on separate sides of the stage and Ray would hang out with us. And I was just telling somebody that about how, you know, like they fought all the time, but they were such a great band to go, oh, like Oasis. It's like, no, it's the other way around. Oasis is like the Kinks.
Yeah.
Like who are they? And they think, you know, you really got me as a Van Halen song, if they even know who Van Halen is.
Well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I have the perspective of having seen and heard alive back then and seen her. And I can give you my opinion on both of them. If you weren't around and you don't even know who that band is, you don't have the right to give your opinion that this band today is better than that unless you listen and compare. And I get frustrated sometimes. I know. I need to settle down.
I do too, and especially since everybody is so online, and then COVID really nailed that in because you know we were all home for 2 or 3 years, and our whole relationship to the world was online, and I remember somebody posting something on some site about these are the best punk rock photos, and you know what was absent from it was the cover of London Calling.
Oh yeah.
That's like the foundational. That's like. If you say punk rock, I mean, that's one of the first things you think of.
Sure, right.
Yeah. Is the cover of London Calling. And it also, it's like an Elvis album. And it's just like the culmination of teenage rebellion in one image. And It was a photo taken by a woman.
Yeah.
And I just went to town on this kid. And then at the end of the day, I convinced him to buy Ruby Ray's book. You know, Ruby Ray from San Francisco, who everything that ever happened in San Francisco, she photographed.
It's absolutely wonderful. I when I was telling David about the show weeks ago when you and I talked, we booked this, and I said this is going to be fascinating because we've done so many musicians as interviews here. We talk so much music, people from the 60s and into the 70s. I said, but here's a different perspective. I believe you're probably the first photographer that was there at a time that we've had on this show. And I said, this is going to be fascinating, just her perspective on everything. And Theresa, it's been an absolute It's been an absolute pleasure. I mean, I love getting to know you here live and see you because I've heard so much from Frank about you, and it was always Theresa. But now I can say, yeah, I know Theresa.
I'm really glad because this is what I really want to do. When I was trying to make that decision, like, what do you want to do with your life? What do you want to study in college? I wanted to be an English teacher because what I really wanted to do was sit around and talk to people about books, talk to people about stories. And so that's what I'm doing now, only they're my own stories. But so, I had this professional life where part of it I got to do, I got to work as a cinematographer. I got to produce television programming and movies and all of that. But also I did listen to my parents because, they did support me and send me to school. And thankfully they did give me a skill to fall back on. So, I do this niche kind of practice, which is like law and finance all together. And 'cause my grandfather was a private equity guy, and I call him a robber baron because that's what I think private equity is.
Is right.
But I turned that into like doing royalties, which is an artist's paycheck, and they only get paid twice a year.
Yep.
And so you take all of that knowledge and that skill into, working on behalf of an artist. Then you could work at a corporation and, have a 401k and employer subsidized insurance until you get to be old. So I feel like things worked out.
Yeah, indeed. No, indeed. And I'm so looking forward to your memoir. That's going to be something for everybody to look forward to. Punk turns 30. You're going to update that with some link trees, but there's the link down the bottom, everybody. Punk turns 30. Of course, she'll link that to punkturns30again.substack.com. And Theresa can be found on Instagram, Punk Turns 30. It's not hard to remember all this. It's all Punk Turns 30 based, but I hope everybody checks it out. I look forward to the future. I look forward to catching up with you at a museum show or archive or your photo exhibition. And
let's do something together.
We would do something. Let's do something together. There we go. I love it. Why not? Why not? Theresa, thank you so much for hanging
Mark
on Material Issues. I'm gonna say goodnight. I'm gonna put you back down in the queue. You can sign off if you want, but I will take 3 more minutes to tell everybody who's coming up in the future of the show. When I sign off, I'll check back with you. We'll say our good nights in
all
a
right.
couple of minutes. But thank you again for joining us here on Material Issues. This has been an absolute blast, and I wish you nothing but the best in the future. And we will see each other in the not too distant future. Thank you, and have a great night. Happy Thanksgiving week. I hope your holiday is wonderful. And
gobble gobble. How do you do this? Is a turkey. Remember how like when you were in school you could like make a turkey?
Yeah.
Well,
have a great night, Theresa. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, Theresa Kareakes, Punk Turns 30. Punk Turns 30 again, and then she's going to be working on Punk Turns 50. Retrospect on either side of the TRO. So check out Theresa, punkturns30.com, link trees for everything going on in her future. Now, as far as our future Material Issues, boy, we remain busy. Next week, let's see. Next week is next week is the 30th. The 30th. We've got Al Chan of the wonderful Rubinoos out of LA. Rubinoos, one of the seminal power pop bands for many years, and of course they are iconic and legendary. Bass guitarist Al Chan of the Rubinoos will join us next Sunday at 8 p.m. Eastern. The following Sunday, December 7th, we will have out of the UK the Len Price 3. If you're into mod and anything jam related and you don't know who is carrying on the torch, that would be the Len Price 3 out of the UK. It'll be a pre-recorded show because they late at night. We're pre-recording that show in the very near future, and that will air on the 7th of December. On the 14th of December, we pre-recorded this show 2 weeks ago. David mentioned it in our show tonight. Jorik van Noorden, a wonderful Netherlands artist who is, if you were a big fan of like the Association and Sunshine Pop of the late 60s, early 70s, well, Jorik is probably the best at it today. A number of albums, including his brand new album. We talk about that on the show. That will be run on December 14th. On the 21st, right before the Christmas holiday, right, and I guess Hanukkah is running kind of in that same time. It's just going to be David and I doing a little bit of a holiday show and playing some Stump the Bash trivia on the 21st. We roll into the 28th, the end of the year, the last show of the year. If you remember the early 70s and one of the most iconic classic early 70s track, It's Nice to Be With You by the band Gallery. We will have Jim Gold, the lead singer of Gallery. Oh, it's so nice to be with you. Yeah, he's going to be on the show on December 28th. And then we're booking into January of 2026. Right now on the 18th, we do have Steve and Brian Butler of the wonderful band Smash Palace. They've been around for a long time. And they have a brand new album out, and Steve's a very good friend of mine, doesn't live too far from me right here. So Steve and Brian from Smash Palace will be with us on the 18th. And as always, we've got irons in the fire. We've got a lot of things that could possibly happen. I know Theresa mentioned the Kinks and Ray and Dave Davies. We might have it's Davis, but we might have one of them on Material Issues. Shh, I didn't mention that. We shall see. But everybody, thank you for joining us. And of course, all 230 episodes are available, materialissues.com. Please share, like, subscribe, tell everybody you know, because we've got some amazing interviews wrapped up in all these episodes. So it's been a pleasure. We'll see everybody next Sunday night with Al Chan of the Reuben News. Have a great night, everybody. Thank you. Great show. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate the comment. We'll see everybody later. Good night.